Thank you, Anna. And thank you all again for joining us. It's really critical that we come and show our support on this issue. So, I'm going to talk about the message to our children that we continually hear. What message are we sending the children? And you know, when we look at the media and we look at marijuana in the media, it's laughable. Quite literally, it's a joke. It's made fun of. It's not taken seriously. And then we have our law enforcement, some of them, many of them, sheriffs, DAs, and they say that the sky is going to fall down if we regulate marijuana, that it'll introduce a new intoxicant into our society, that kids are going to have more access than they do today. Well, I have to ask those law enforcement officers to look at the statistics. Because according to the Monitoring the Future study put on by the University of Michigan, 8 out of 10 high school seniors have easy access to marijuana. That's a higher rate of access than most adults. When I was growing up, it was mostly the youth that were getting marijuana for their parents. This is the reality of prohibition. This is what happens in an unregulated market. And I have to ask those people who say that we should do this for our children to really stop and think about what they're saying and look at the research and look at the studies and look at the numbers and come to a new realization. Prohibition has failed. It is never going to work. It did not work with alcohol. It is not going to work with marijuana. We are 75 years deep into this war against marijuana. We are generations deep into this. Alcohol prohibition lasted for about 14 years. The people who were under that rule could remember the before. They could remember before Al Capone came into the picture. We don't remember before organized crime came around marijuana. When we look at the cartels, we are looking at the Al Capones of today. We understood then that alcohol prohibition created organized crime because of the short time frame. We don't have that perspective, and so I ask us to bring that perspective in. For our children, we have to end prohibition to protect them. Right now, alcohol and tobacco use are at all-time lows. Through education and regulation, not a single prisoner. We can do the same with marijuana through education and regulation, which is what Measure 80 will do. Measure 80 makes it a Class B felony for selling to minors. It prohibits consuming cannabis in public. It is a common sense measure whose time has come. It is critical that we pass this legislation for our children. Because right now they are getting a mixed message. They're being told that it's not so bad and that it's horrible. And the truth is that it's somewhere in the middle. Marijuana is not good for kids, period. Studies on both sides of the issue say that kids should not be using marijuana. We agree on this. What we need to talk about is how to get it out of their hands, and that is through regulation and education. I'll share something a little personal that I don't normally share. I grew up in an alcoholic home. I understand how horrible alcoholism is. And I can tell you that I would pray in my teenage years, pray for my mom to just light up a joint. Because she would go to sleep. She would eat and she would go to sleep. And when she didn't, and when she only drank, it was hell. It was complete hell. We had just lost most of our family. Both her parents and her younger sister and her younger sister's ex-husband, who was very close to the family, all died within 2 years. She fell apart, understandably so. And that's the thing about addiction. When we talk about addiction, we're talking about people who are not able to manage their lives. They cannot manage their lives, and what do they need? Do they really need to go to jail? Do they really need to get arrested? Do they really need to go to prison? No. They need help. They need treatment. They need support. They need solutions for their lives. And our current approach does not provide that for them. I'm going to share one other thing, and then I'm going to pass it on to the next person. I was doing some research, and I found that Time magazine reported in December of 2011 that in the 13 states that were studied, traffic fatalities went down by 9%. And they actually were attributing this to people substituting alcohol or marijuana for alcohol. So they're actually finding, so there is so much more research that is needed on this issue. My own personal story, what these studies are finding. And so one of the other things that I want you to know about Measure 80 is that it mandates further research. It mandates studies so we can actually know what we're talking about, because right now we're guessing. And that has to stop. So I urge you to vote yes on Measure 80. And we are going to go on to the next speaker.